Bulletcast for life.
Welcome, boys and girls, to episode 8 of Under the Radar. My name is Brandon. I am back from my little vacation in Southern California. I am back in the Bay Area. Still Mr. No Days Off, even though I might have taken a day off or two from the Bulletcast and the instant analysis. But who really cares, because I am here to deliver you with my Extreme Rules thoughts on the matter. I was able to squeeze it in and watch it while I was in San Diego, so I will be going over that card and talking about my thoughts, and we will be going over the first two nights of the G1 Climax tournament, and of course we got the NXT and the Total Bellas recap. So let's jump into it. We got the Extreme Rules show taking place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Not going to go over the pre-show because I did not watch the pre-show. Sanity beat New Day as I thought, and thank God Andrade Cien Almas beat Sin Cara, because that's what should happen. So first off, we have Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt going up against the B team for the Raw Tag Team Championships. The match was alright. B team won in 8 minutes. Not shocking that B team won. Kind of, the more I thought about it, I was thinking that, the Deleters of Worlds have not really gotten that much screen time and that much development compared to the B team. I think they're just having more fun and booking B team and comedy segments and different stuff on television. I just don't think Vince and people in that creative room really understand the appeal of Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt's kookiness that could ensue, but I was kind of disappointed in the match in terms of the crowd reaction. The crowd was not all that hot for B team, not as hot as I thought they would be, especially being the first match of the show when the crowd is going to be hot for almost anything you put out there. And I just thought it kind of under-delivered in terms of crowd reaction, so not a good start for the B team's reign. Of course, we'll get into what happened on Raw and other stuff. But the match itself was not the best start off to the show. So next up, we have Finn Balor against Baron Corbin. Not going to lie, did not watch this match all that much. Just kind of sped through it. Kind of went straight to the finish. And Finn Balor won with a roll-up in 9 minutes. Another good match that Finn was able to get out of Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was on offense for most of it, and Finn just kind of got the fluke roll-up at the end, which I think is a good sign. I thought possibly they would have Baron Corbin beat Finn Balor clean here, just because he's Constable Corbin. He's getting a lot of TV time. Finn Balor kind of, treading water at this point, not really going up or down the card, just kind of staying in that upper mid-card level with where Baron Corbin is. So I'm not going to say this is a big step in the right direction for a Finn Balor push. Obviously, we know I saw what happened on Raw. We'll get into that on the Bulletcast tomorrow. But I think this is probably going to further on the feud between Finn Balor and Corbin, and we might see a rematch at SummerSlam. So nothing real special to start off the show. And then we have Carmella with James Ellsworth up against Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And James Ellsworth was suspended above the ring in a shark cage. Carmella not delivering in the ring. She delivers with entertaining segments and decent promos, but when it comes to in-ring, she just is not good. The match was only 5 minutes, and then the shenanigans ensued with James Ellsworth trying to get out of the cage, but then he gets stuck, and then Asuka beats him up, and that leads to a distraction. And Carmella is able to beat Asuka. So once again, Asuka just losing so much of her mystique after WrestleMania. She was undefeated. She wasn't booked the best leading up to WrestleMania. She doesn't get a lot of promo time, but just if you compare to what she was in NXT to what she is now in WWE, I'm not going to say it's up there with Bayley, but the stuff they have done with Asuka, just diminishing her value and her mystique that she had going in from NXT to WWE. Even when she had the undefeated streak, she still had something to her character, but now it's just this is what happens when you get called up to the main roster. You just get put, and you're just another card in the deck, and nothing special about Asuka. It's a shame that Carmella's beating Asuka, but I think at this point Vince sees Carmella as a much better asset just because she's able to fill up more TV time on SmackDown with her promos and the segments that she can have. Asuka just is a straight ahead wrestler, doesn't have good English, so she can't cut long promos. I mean, Jeff Hardy can't cut great promos. Daniel Bryan is a pretty good, being a good promo. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of in vacation mode. I'm still tired, even though I've been back for a couple days now. Still trying to recover. So if my talking ability is not up to snuff, that's my excuse why. But I mean, I can't really say any much more about this match. I think I'm going to get into my overall thoughts on the card after I cover everything, but I think you're kind of seeing the direction I'm going and how I felt about this pay-per-view. So then next up we have Jeff Hardy against Shinsuke Nakamura. Just I don't know, 5-second match. Nakamura gives Hardy a low blow when the referee is not watching, and then Jeff Hardy stupidly says that he's okay to fight, and Nakamura hits him with the Kinshasa knee for the quick win off of Jeff Hardy. And then we have Randy Orton come out, kind of looks like maybe he might make a save for Jeff Hardy, and then I kind of saw it coming. Not trying to say I'm smarter than everybody, but just Randy Orton kind of played that, methodical heel that he does, and then he took Jeff Hardy's legs, spread him apart, kicked him right in the dick, and that cemented, at least for me anyways, that Randy Orton turned heel. Obviously in SmackDown he kind of took it a step too far, but just talking about Extreme Rules, the match itself, I don't understand why they just did this quick finish. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's because they just kind of had the time scheduled out and they were like, we can have this as a quick match, kind of a fluke. And then they decided to put it on SmackDown, and that's where the fuller match would be. But I didn't like the finish. I guess it puts heat on Shinsuke. I thought it made Jeff look like an idiot by getting low blowed to begin the match. Not even the match started yet. He gets low blowed, and he was clearly in no form to wrestle. And he says, okay, and then he just gets laid out in 5 seconds. They just made him look like an absolute idiot. Just kind of overbooking here. A lot of, screwed up finishes, and just kind of overcomplicated booking. I think just having Shinsuke have a straight up match with Jeff Hardy, and then maybe having Shinsuke cheat a little bit, or even put over, or even beat Jeff Hardy clean. I'm not all that against having heels beat babyfaces clean every now and then. I know heels, the idea is that they're supposed to be not as good as the babyfaces, so they have to cheat. But when it comes to mid-card, upper mid-card feuds like this, sometimes it's, especially with Shinsuke, who has had his run at the top, as well as Jeff Hardy, sometimes having the heel, with Shinsuke losing all those times to AJ Styles, kind of reestablishing that yes, he is a strong wrestler, it's someone to take seriously. But I think right now Shinsuke's character is kind of, he just low blows everybody, and that's the reason why he wins his matches. And just, you don't take him seriously, he's kind of a weak heel at this point. And with him and Randy Orton possibly becoming a team or some sort of alliance between the two, we're going to have to see what happens, just because Shinsuke didn't really know what was going on with Randy Orton. I don't know what they're doing with this. But I kind of like the Randy Orton heel turn. But then coming up on SmackDown, like Randy Orton, the babyface side on SmackDown is just so thin at this point. All you have really for a top babyfaces is you have AJ, Daniel Bryan, and Jeff Hardy, and then everybody else is heels. You have Rusev, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke, Almas. Sanity's a team, but they're up with New Day. Just a lot of the singles, all the male single wrestlers are heels at this point. So I think you might have to turn somebody babyface. They've gone back and forth with Rusev. They've maybe could turn Almas here, but I think that's way too soon to do that. So I think probably either Rusev. And Samoa Joe, I think, is definitely someone who should be turned heel or turned babyface eventually. So either between Rusev and Samoa Joe are someone who should be turning sooner rather than later, especially if Daniel Bryan never signs with WWE and they're going to lose another babyface on the SmackDown side. But next up, we have Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens in a cage match. Kind of the thing I talked about here, where I thought Kevin Owens might get the victory just because he gets destroyed by Braun Strowman and he gets the win on a technicality, and that's basically what happens here. Kevin Owens Gets dominated by Braun for most of the match, and then KO pulls out some handcuffs Braun to the rope. Braun does the old strongman gimmick where he breaks the handcuffs, and KO runs like hell, scurries up to the top of the cage. Braun Strowman takes him, throws him off the side of the cage, a la Mick Foley. Same city, by the way. Don't think it's the same building. I think it's a new building. But in the same city where Mankind fell off the top of the cell through the announce table, but this one had a little airbag underneath. You could clearly see the KO. Obviously, that's a dangerous spot. I would not want to try to fall, whatever it is, 20, 15 feet up on the air and try to, shoot myself a good 8 feet off, 8 feet forward, 20 feet down, and try to land perfectly. Looked like KO landed clean. I think this is not a good sign for KO. I mean, obviously he gets the victory sort of here, but Braun Strowman just kind of destroyed him. I hope Kevin Owens turns babyface eventually. I think KO could honestly be one of the biggest babyfaces in the company, because with babyfaces and having their top guys, if you go back in time, like you see, Bruno Sammartino is not the same person as Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund's completely different than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's different than Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and, so on and so on. Like, the baby faces that come after the previous one are usually never the same. I think Kevin Owens kind of being like the everyman babyface. Not like Stone Cold, but just kind of he looks like an average guy. He can talk his head off, and he's a great wrestler in the ring. I think he can be a really good babyface, and I don't know if this is going to do irreparable damage to him to where he gets destroyed by Braun Strowman, and he's basically kind of like a comedy figure at this point where he just goes through all these wacky shenanigans with Braun. People like it in the building. I don't know if people on TV, people watching the television show are getting a little sick of it. I know I'm kind of getting sick of the antics with Braun, just kind of doing like gimmicks of the pulling the whole set down, chucking KO out of a porta potty. I think this is just another gimmick that they did with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman still has the Money in the Bank briefcase to cash in on the Universal Champion eventually. Don't know when that will happen, but we will have to soon find out. But the match itself, I mean, it was, I guess, fun for what it was, but I think just the harm it did to Kevin Owens is just not very good. Then we have the Bludgeon Brothers and Daniel Bryan and Kane in a tag team match for the SmackDown Championships. What happened earlier on in the show is Daniel Bryan and Kane got attacked by the Bludgeon Brothers, and then Eric Rowan took one of the mallets and smashed Kane's leg up against like a door or some sort of garage sliding door type thing, and it crushed Kane's leg. So Daniel Bryan trying to fight valiantly, trying to go it alone, trying to beat the Bludgeon Brothers. Daniel Bryan almost did it. He came close. I mean, in a sense, he was getting good offense in against the Bludgeon Brothers, but never had them decisively down for a clear 3 count and anything like that. Then Kane tries to make the save. Daniel Bryan gives the hot tag to Kane. Kane comes in, makes a little bit of a comeback, hits a couple choke slams, but then in the end, it was just too much for them too much for Team Hell No to go up against the Bludgeon Brothers, especially being down almost a full body with Kane only being on one leg. And then they tag Daniel Bryan in. Daniel Bryan tries to make a little bit of a comeback, but Harper clotheslines Bryan, and that is the finish. So under 10 minutes between this match. The match was kind of deflating, just kind of like, that's what they're doing. I mean, once you saw Kane get attacked and have his leg practically bashed in half, you knew this was going to be the excuse for having Daniel Bryan and Kane to lose. It makes sense to have, obviously, the Bludgeon Brothers beat Daniel Bryan 2-on-1. If Bryan did beat the Bludgeon Brothers, I think this would almost destroy them in a sense. As much as everyone loves Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan's one of the top guys in the company, the Bludgeon Brothers being a heel big man tag team getting defeated by Daniel Bryan in a handicap match just would not be a good look for them. I just don't understand why they did this match. I felt like you could have just had a regular 2-on-2 tag team match and have Kane take the pinfall here in a really good match. I think that could have been the right call. You can still have the same thing here with the Bludgeon Brothers getting the victory. It doesn't look like they're going to split up Team Hell No at this point. So if you just have a straight up tag team match between the two, or between the four rather, I think that could have been just a better thing for the show and better thing for the crowd. And I mean, if you catch my drift, I was not a big fan of this show. Just especially watching the G1. I think the night before I watched the first night and then watched this. It just pales in comparison between the two shows. And then we have Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. Surprise of the night. It went in the mid card, the 7th match. Crowd not really behind Lashley, but definitely going up against Roman Reigns. You got your usual antics with Roman Reigns matches with the crowd trying to take over, and they do Rusev Day chants and all that other stuff. But I thought the guys put in a solid performance. Roman Reigns, not real heelish, but just in control for most of the match, and then Bobby Lashley comes out and hits a spear out of nowhere at the 15-minute mark for the sort of shocking win for Lashley, as I said, in 15 minutes. I thought it was a good match, one of the better matches on the show, and just, kind of adds fuel to the fire. Everyone's saying, oh, look, Roman Reigns loses, so that's why we should all love him, because he's not selfish and he does the job. But not to pile on Roman here. People, I see right through it. Roman Reigns is set to be the number one contender for SummerSlam up against Brock Lesnar. Just because he loses against Lashley, obviously I think we understand why Lashley won in this match, because they set up the rematch going into next week for the number one contendership for Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship. I don't even know what the fuck I just said right there, but who really cares at this point? Because nobody's listening. Let's be honest. But good match between the two. I don't know exactly what to say. I mean, it was just a decent Roman Reigns match. Nothing real special here. Bobby Lashley put in a decent effort. I don't know if they have another gear, if they can get much better than this, and unless if Roman Reigns is a definitive heel. Lashley just isn't clicking as a babyface at this point. I don't know what they would do to get him as an over babyface. I guess you would want to turn him heel, but I mean, I just kind of go back and forth. I was kind of a big proponent of Lashley coming into the company. I don't know if it's him, if it's the scripting, or if it's a combination of the two, but just Lashley just isn't really clicking at this point with the company and the crowd. So I got to see what's going forward and what the plan is with Roman and Lashley going into SummerSlam. So we have Ronda Rousey being shown at ringside, kind of waves to the crowds with her boo thing. Travis Brown, Alexa Bliss with Mickie James goes up against Nia Jax with Natalya in an Extreme Rules match for the Raw Women's Championship. Kind of a straightforward match here. Extreme Rules, so there's a lot of chicanery. Mickie James helping out Alexa Bliss, giving her weapons. For some reason, Natalya, who was at ringside, did not help Nia Jax by taking those weapons away from Mickie James or even beating up Mickie James. So then stuff happens on the outside. Alexa Bliss kind of beating up Natalya, and Ronda Rousey had enough, and she jumps the barricade. Who apparently it's okay if you jump the barricade if you're Ronda Rousey or somebody else, because if a regular fan would have done that, they would have been tackled really, really badly. And that's kind of the point Corey Graves made: is if she's a fan, then why is she able to jump the barricade? Which is a huge leap in logic. I mean, people know that she's Ronda Rousey. If she's supposed to be a fan, she shouldn't be able to jump the barricade and do all that stuff. Like, maybe I would have been fine with it. They did the angle of she jumps the barricade, attacks Alexa Bliss, and you kind of do the same thing you did to get her suspended. As you get the security out, she kind of beats up the security, but then in the end, they kind of overwhelm her and they kind of talk her down, and she gets escorted to the back, and maybe you kind of get her suspended for a couple more weeks. But that's not what they did here. It was kind of building up for the run-in for Ronda, and that's what happened. And then Alexa Bliss beats Nia Jax to set up the Bliss-Rousey match we're all looking forward to at SummerSlam. Ronda Rousey's definitely over as a babyface, but when it comes down to, I mean, there was a couple moments in this match where when Ronda came in that she was it felt like she was like rushing a little bit too much for Mickie James. Like, I think she was like running around, or she wasn't running around, but she was like trying to take her and whip her into the barricade, but she was like going too fast for Mickie to catch up. And then when she tried to throw her into the ring, I think she was like a step or two too quick, and Mickie kind of had to take that like little extra awkward step to get her balance ready, because Mickie James God bless her, is doing this whole thing in heels, and she's running around and taking bumps and getting beat up by Ronda Rousey. But the fans were over, or the fans loved Ronda Rousey. It was a good thing, a fun little segment here. But the match itself between Bliss and Jax, it was what it was. So then we have AJ Styles up against Rusev for the WWE Championship. I thought this was the best match on the show by far. I know a lot of people are going to like the Iron Man match. I did not like it. I know the crowd might have hindered a little bit, but I think I really liked this match. It was only a 16-minute match, but I thought the work here between the two was great. Aiden English gets involved at the end, and AJ Styles almost goes to he did go to the wrong corner, and then he realizes that thing goes to the other corner, and the Rusev hits his head on the exposed turnbuckle pad, and AJ hits the phenomenal forearm for the victory. So, as I talked about last week, I thought Rusev was just going to be a short-term challenger for AJ Styles. I think that's shown here. AJ kind of beats him clean. Obviously, Aiden English got involved in the finish, but it wasn't too overcomplicated. AJ just kind of beats him with his finish. Rusev gets pinned, and maybe they can do something with Rusev and Aiden English going forward. Possibly a match at SummerSlam. But I think AJ versus Samoa Joe might be the way to go. I mean, he had a good match with Almas on SmackDown, but I don't think it's Almas' time right now. I think AJ and Samoa Joe is going to be the match for SummerSlam, and I think that would be a great match, especially if they get the time and the story behind it. But AJ Styles he's kind of been cooled off lately, but he's still, when it comes down to those pay-per-view matches, he will bring it, and he brought it here. So, next up, we have the main event, the IC Championship 30-minute Iron Man match between Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins. I don't really know. I mean, 30-minute match. Ziggler ends up tying 4-4 after the 30-minute mark. And then Kurt Angle comes out and says that it's not gonna end a draw. We're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna next fall for the win. And then Drew McIntyre, who was banned from ringside after getting disqualified and all this other shenanigans that happened early on in the match, comes back out. Ziggler gets the victory after a couple minutes. I thought this kind of made Kurt Angle look like an idiot a little bit because he just restarted the match, and then like 30 seconds later, Drew McIntyre gets involved after being banned from ringside. Like, why didn't Kurt Angle come out and say, Drew, you're disqualified. You were banned from this match. It just because I restarted the match doesn't mean that you can come back in and interfere. Restart it again, and if you get involved or whatever, Dolph loses the championship. I think they just kind of did that to build up false drama and, a finish. I just didn't like the match. I know the story coming out of it is the crowd taking over with the chants, the counting down from the clocks, and the crowd gets their clock taken away, and then they get angry, and then the clock comes back on because they're trying to tell a story with Seth Rollins looking at the clock. But let's see. So Seth goes up 3-0 after he gets a roll-up, he hits a curb stomp, and then Drew McIntyre gets a disqualification by beating up Seth. So this is all within 9 minutes. We have 3 falls in 9 minutes after we've seen them only have 1 fall in about 15 to 20 minutes in other matches. That's one of the things I don't like about these Iron Man matches. Sometimes they get these falls, and I'm a little bit more lenient on them because they told a good story. I'm just not a fan of having these really quick pinfalls when in a normal match it never happens. If they would establish that these sorts of things happen throughout Raws or pay-per-views where sometimes a match ends in 30 seconds because someone gets a really good cradle or something on them, and they just happen to win like that. I'm fine with that, but they just never do that. They always have these matches end within when it's a big match, a big main event like this. I know it's not what it should be, but this is how it is. Is once the match usually starts once somebody hits a finisher. just because that's usually how WWE main events go. Is that, once someone kicks out of someone else's finisher, then it gets more predictable that the finish is going to come here. But then with these ones, when you know it's going to be a 30-minute match, and when you get a pinfall, it doesn't get that pop that it should be. It just kind of messes up the flow of the match. I'm not a big fan of Iron Man matches. I would much rather just have a one fall match, or even 2 out of 3 falls, or a little better, I guess, in a sense, because there's still, like, you don't know how long the match is going to go. And with those, they always have the quick finishes as well. But I was just not a fan of having so many pinfalls here. I mean, in the end, it was 4-4. They get, like, all of the all the pinfalls happened within 17 minutes, and then the next 13 nothing happened. So I guess that kind of makes it a little bit unrealistic that all these pinfalls happen so quickly, and then in the very end, like, nothing happens. But I mean, I guess it's good that the IC title main evented the show. I guess just because they wanted the 30-minute gimmick to go on last. But all in all, I just wasn't a fan of the show. I didn't listen to the instant analysis from Philip, so I don't know exactly how he feels about it. We can talk about it tomorrow. I just thought this was kind of a thumbs down show. I thought they just overbooked a lot of these finishes. I mean, how many clean finishes did we really get? I mean, AJ Styles and Lashley are probably, and the tag team match are probably the cleanest wins you're going to get. But let's see. I mean, Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins, they had the little thingy with Drew McIntyre. AJ already talked about that. Then, my computer would like to work. Alexa Bliss had all those shenanigans with Ronda Rousey. Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns, just a clean, straight-up one-on-one match, which I liked. That's what made this match so much better, in my opinion, because they had all the things going on with all the other matches. The Bludgeon Brothers, they had this thing going on early on in the show. Kevin Owens gets thrown off the top of the cage in what was basically a comedy match. Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke happened within like 10 seconds after a low blow and a knee. Carmella has the James Ellsworth shenanigans going on. We have Finn Balor in a straight up one-on-one match. Baron Corbin dominates, and Baron Corbin gets the roll up. And I mean, there's just so many kind of overcomplicated matches and just booking stuff that happened on the show that just, I felt like it didn't click with me. I think if you do one in a show, I mean, I might not like it, but at least it stands out differently compared to everything else. But then with this, when you have all these different over the complicated finishes and all these different extreme things that are supposed to have all these, I think we're going to stop here, and let's go on to stuff that I like, and let's talk about the G1 Climax. I'm going to talk about Night 1 and Night 2, because those are the ones I've only seen at this point. So, we have Night 1 in Block A. Just going to go over the tournament matches. We have Makabe and Yoshihashi. Makabe wins in about 12 minutes, 30 seconds. Decent match. Yoshihashi is kind of the loser of this block. He usually is going to lose, all of his matches, and then maybe gets one upset victory against a bigger name. But Yoshihashi tends to turn it up. He's not one of my favorites, to be honest. But when it comes to the G1, he turns it up. He's going to have good matches with the top guys. Makabe obviously should win this match. One of the top tier guys in the block. So we'll see what happens. Definitely not. I don't think Makabe is going to win by any means, but he's going to be in the mix. So then we got Bad Luck Fale and Hangman Page. Hangman Page gets the victory by DQ, a rare DQ in New Japan, but this forwards the storyline between the Bullet Club and the Firing Squad. And I thought it told a good story here, just kind of further cementing the split between the two factions within the faction. And so Hangman Page is getting over with the crowd. I don't know if that's because of being the elite or if just the in-ring work he's doing, but I think Hangman Page definitely can be one of the bigger Gaijin stars in New Japan, maybe by the end of 2019. We'll see where Hangman Page is. That would be an interesting. It'd definitely be interesting to see what Hangman will do next. Maybe he'll be the next Juice Robinson or something, maybe even bigger than Juice Robinson. I I think Hangman Page can be a really good IC champion. So let's see what we got going on with that. We got Evil and Michael Elgin, one of my favorite matches of the tournament thus far out of the first two nights. Just two big bulls going after each other, just beating the holy hell out of each other. And Michael Elgin gets the victory in a little over 16 minutes. Great match, definitely. Probably my favorite match out of the first night, I think. So if you're pressed for time and only can see a few matches, definitely this is my favorite match to see out of the first night. Evil versus Michael Elgin. So then we have Minoru Suzuki up against Tanahashi. Basically, the whole match was just Suzuki working over Tanahashi's leg, Tanahashi not giving up, and Tanahashi hitting two high fly flows on Suzuki, one standing up and one regular with Suzuki on the mat, and Tanahashi gets the victory. It all started with Tanahashi getting a great looking dragon screw leg whip on Suzuki, and Suzuki sold the hell out of it. Looked like he damn near broke his leg for real. And then Tanahashi makes the comeback, hits those two high fly flows, as I said, and gets the victory. So this sets up with some injury angles going forward. Suzuki selling the leg. Maybe not a big deal going forward, but Tanahashi possibly might have an injury angle going forward with that leg. Might be the reason why he slips and loses a match or two in the tournament. So we will have to see with those legs of Suzuki as well as Tanahashi, and see how those hold up throughout the tournament. And then we have the main event with Okada and Jay White. I was listening to a podcast, and it was described beautifully to me that Kazuchika Okada is the divorced dad right now. He's trying to change up his look. He's trying to act like everything's fine, when in reality, everything's not fine. He buys that brand new Corvette, and sometimes he just sits in the parking lot and just cries because he lost his baby. And that's basically what happened here. Kazuchika Okada has the red hair. He doesn't come out in a ring robe. He comes out in his t-shirt. He has red, black, and yellow balloons that he gives out to the crowd for some reason. And it further cements that Okada is kind of in a little downfall right now after losing the championship to Omega, because Jay White gets the victory over Okada in 25 minutes. Really good match. Not as good as I thought Elgin and Evil was, but definitely good match. Jay White still in chaos, so we're setting up the division between that. Jay White, I don't think he's going to be in chaos for much longer, possibly trying to get some people from chaos to leave or maybe start his own little faction, but I think having Jay White join the firing squad could be a good move for them. Him kind of being the singles star. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa can be the tag team champions. He can go after the IC or heavyweight championship. And Fale is just kind of the enforcer. Doesn't really care all that much about championships. Just there to beat some ass. Jay White goes on and kind of talks about how it's his chaos now. How he kind of ran down Okada a little bit. And Okada's showing some anger, kind of some frustration with his performance and losing another match, and his anger towards Jay White. But I think they've laid the groundwork for some good stories being told. Okada already down in the tournament, so he's got some work to do if he wants to be in that. If he wants to win the A block. So right now in the A block we got Tanahashi, Makabe, Page, and Elgin, as well as Jay White, all with 2 points. So we've already seen, Okada and Evil and Suzuki, 3 big names with 0 points, but obviously it is a long tournament to go and they still have 8 more matches to make up some ground. So next up we have night 2 of Block B, with the main event being Naito and Kenny Omega. And let's jump into it. We got Ishii against Yano, just kind of a fun little match here where kind of the roles were reversed. Yano kind of being the badass, kind of taking it to Ishii, and then Ishii wasn't able to really get the better of Yano, so then he hits him with a low blow, and that's how he wins. So kind of reversing the roles here with kind of Ishii not being a comedy figure, but kind of having to take the underhanded tactics to beat Yano. But it was what it was. So then we have Tama Tonga going up against Juice. A little bit of an underwhelming match, I would say. I thought it could have been better, but I think Tama Tonga definitely established his gimmick and kind of being the alpha out of the two. Thought, Juice not as over in Japan as he was in America. Don't know if it's because the people there did not see the match he had with Jay White, or just because he's kind of the pop star type babyface in Japan. The girls love him. The guys kind of deal with him, I guess. But just not a good reaction for Juice, in my opinion. It was a good match between the two, and Tama Tonga got the victory over Juice, which I thought was much deserved because Tama, definitely being the de facto leader at this point for the firing squad, needs to get some big wins under his belt, especially leading up to that Kenny Omega match, which will be very interesting to see how Tama Tonga does in that match. So next up we have Sonata up against Goto. Hard-hitting match as you would expect. Good match between the two. Goto ends up getting the victory in a little bit over 13 minutes. The match started off slow, but then got really good in the second half. Sonata showed some good aggression, and so just good back and forth action between the two, as you would expect between these guys. Don't expect either one of these guys to be in the running for the block winner by the end of it, but some two guys who can deliver good matches with a bunch of different people, and Next up, we have Zack Sabre Jr. with Taka Michinoku up against Kota Ibushi, and this match, my God, was fantastic. The B block might be the best block out of the two, especially when you got Sabre Jr., Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Naito all in the block, as well as Sonata, Goto. I mean, there are just so many people in this block that can deliver with great matches. The match itself went 24 minutes and 32 seconds. Just this match was great. Definitely go out here. If you're only going to see one match, this match and the main event with Kenny and Naito were so great. Definitely go see these last two matches. Sabre just stretching Ibushi, and Ibushi's so flexible that he can make Sabre's submissions look even better than they actually are. And Sabre Jr., I love him. Kota Ibushi, I love him as well. So it was kind of hard to see. I didn't know who to pick, but in the end, Kota Ibushi won, getting his win back from the New Japan Cup from earlier this year. So be interesting to see what they do with that. So then we have Naito and Kenny Omega in the main event. This match went 23 minutes and 22 seconds. This match was as great as you think it was. They go back and forth. Naito was the clear-cut favorite in Japan. Kenny Omega does a springboard off the top rope to the outside, goes over the guardrail, goes damn near like 3-4 rows into the audience, hits a crossbody onto Naito. There's so many spots in this match that were great. They go back and forth. Naito tries to go for the Destino, but then Okada counters it. Omega counters it, and then Omega was able to hit some V-triggers, hits the One Wing Angel for the win. Only the first night of this action from this block, and it was amazing. I know the G1 Climax can get very exhausting. I'm already 2 nights behind, but it's definitely, if you can just go out of your way and just see the top matches in each block, definitely do it, because all these matches, and they're all under 30 minutes. So I know some of the knock with New Japan is they go long, but all these matches are either going to go 30 minutes or under 30 minutes. This match was only 23 minutes and 22 seconds. And I know if they would have a match, because possibly the rumor is that Naito might be the winner of the G1 Special, or the G1 Climax, and with Kenny Omega getting the victory over Naito ended up winning the entire G1, and that can set up a match at the Tokyo Dome, and they can play off of that of Kenny beating Naito. Well, they played up the tie that Naito and Kenny Omega had, because 2 years ago Kenny won, and then last year Naito won, and then this year Omega won in the G1. So then going forward they can play that up of having Kenny possibly having Naito's number in these big matches, but we'll have to see when that road comes to us. So definitely go out and check the G1 Special. I keep saying G1 Special, G1 Climax in New Japan World. For $9-10, however much it is, to watch the G1 Climax just for the month of July going into August, right now, just it is a steal. You're taking candy from a baby, basically, just easily Like, it's so great. I can't even talk right now. Just go and give New Japan your money, because trust me, even if it was $20, it'd be worth it. But you're only spending about $9 to watch all these great matches for about 3 to 4 weeks. And it only gets better from here, especially once people start falling behind, people try to catch up, and they tell all these intricate stories, and going into the last couple of nights of the block when they really, really turn it up. So, yeah. Next up, we got our NXT TV report. I believe the last show of this set of tapings, they just did some tapings going forward. I was able to stay away from some spoiler. Well, I think all spoilers, but don't want to give any spoilers out here, because even saying something about a spoiler that's not a spoiler can be a spoiler. And I was a little angry once I saw that, because I try to stay away from those things. But we have, this took place on my birthday on Wednesday, July 18th. So yes, I am an old man. I am at the ripe old age of 24. If you'd like to send in some presents, send them my way. I mean, I'm open to anything. You know, if we send PayPal donations to the Bulletcast account, I'll make sure Philip doesn't steal those, because anyways, let's get into it. Dakota Kai and Lacey Evans. Good match between the two, about 9 minutes. I mean, Dakota Kai kind of made a comeback at the end, but then Lacey Evans was basically dominating throughout this entire match. I mean, I thought Kai might have been able to get the victory here, but I think giving Evans the win is probably a better thing, just because Kai is kind of the underdog babyface, kind of trying to battle her way up. And then Lacey Evans is honestly the number 2 heel in the women's division at this point, behind Shayna Baszler. I mean, Bianca Belair, I think you can make a case for her too, but I think right now, at this point, she's kind of like an in-between babyface heel role. And Lacey Evans, I mean, I think it's definitely between her and Bianca Belair for the number 2 spot. But I think Lacey Evans definitely needed to get a win here, especially after losing to Candice LeRae and Kairi Sane. So getting a win over Kai here definitely gives her a little bit extra boost. Don't know what they're going to do with Dakota Kai. They've been giving her a lot of TV time lately, with her losing to Shayna Baszler, trying to get her mojo back. And she loses again, so we're going to have to see what happens and the story they try to tell. So, I mean, just a lower card story they're telling NXT that has me sort of interested in see what they go with this. Kathy Kelly interviews Ricochet. Just a really simple babyface promo. Ricochet kind of calls out Adam Cole for not defending his championship as much as the tag team, as Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong do with the tag team championships. So setting up that Ricochet Adam Cole match. Hopefully it happens in Brooklyn. It'll be a great match, possibly the show stealer. So we'll have to see what happens there. They do some things with Tommaso Ciampa and Aleister Black, kind of setting up for the match they have in next week for the NXT Championship match. They made the announcement that Bianca Belair was not medically cleared for the Fatal 4-Way, which was kind of awkward. I mean, not awkward, but they kind of said at the beginning of the show that it was going to be a triple threat match for the number 1 contendership for Shayna Baszler's championship, and it was a little bit of a while since I've seen NXT. I know a whole week, but a lot has happened within that week, because I went on a vacation and all that other stuff, so I didn't really remember. It was like, for some reason, I knew it was a Fatal 4-Way match, but I just couldn't remember who the last person was, and when they said triple threat, I was going crazy thinking that I was, hallucinating that it was supposed to be a Fatal 4, but they told us that Bianca Belair was not medically cleared, didn't say why, but, yeah, that was about it. Video package on the Street Profits. They were playing basketball and talking about TM61, and yeah, so it is what it is. Then EC3 was walking around a Starbucks. Fan wanted to take a selfie with them, and blah blah blah. And then EC3 happens to run into Kona Reeves, and that kind of sets up EC3 calling out Reeves for a match. Reeves didn't really say anything, but then in the end, after EC3 left, Reeves said that if he wants to fight, he'll get one. So, yeah, I don't really see a whole lot with Kona Reeves. He's just kind of I think he's Hawaiian, but he kind of gives off like that Miami kind of, chill, laid back, nice white, light blue suits with big old chains type gimmick. So, I think EC3 is going to get the victory on in the match that it probably is going to happen on one of the NXT TV shows. So they ran a video package with Black and Tommaso Ciampa. Cassius Ohno comes out and gets a quick victory over Rick Martinez, just almost probably as quick as the Shinsuke Nakamura Jeff Hardy match, only this was a clean victory. Cassius Ohno gets a clean knockout type victory here, hits his rolling elbow, pins him, 30 seconds. Good win for Ohno, kind of getting his credibility back, especially since he's kind of lost his last couple big matches. I don't know if they're going to do anything with him. I really like Ohno. I know his body isn't what the office probably wants it to be, but I think he can be a really good, mid-card kind of gatekeeper babyface for those heels that are trying to go to the next level. And, maybe Ohno can get a run with the title when they're trying to, maybe if they're trying to, transfer it from one heel to another. Because I don't think Ohno, he might get a call up one day. I don't ever see it really happening, so I think Ohno is probably a lifer in NXT, and so giving him I don't want to say a petty championship run, but just kind of a transitional championship run, I think would be a good sign, or a good act to give. Ohno, I don't think championships should be, donations, but I think Ohno definitely, if he puts in the work and kind of gets over the crowd, I think he can have a run eventually. Backstage, the Undisputed Era was talking amongst themselves in the little backstage area that they normally do these things at. They're all kind of talking about Ricochet, and then Adam Cole calls out Ricochet and talks about him being a fighting champion and blah, 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 blah. Then they do a video package on the War Raiders. They had some clips from them from ICW, Progress. They showed him at the Tokyo Dome with the IWGP Championships. Talked about Rogue getting into a serious motorcycle accident, and it just made him tougher. They talked about how they took inspiration from Vikings and learning all these different things from different places. And I thought it was a really good video package. Just really, quick, simple, couple-minute video package. Just gets over the War Raiders and gets you hyped to see them again. So then Velveteen Dream was backstage, and they did some sort of, I don't even know what the hell they did here. I mean, definitely go out and see this. Like, Velveteen Dream just went out, and at first it looked like he was backstage, and then he snapped his fingers, and then it was clearly a green screen that he was on, and he just went and talked about his career and talked about him, facing off Aleister Black, his match with Ohno, his match with Ricochet, and jumping off the top of the ladder. Just all these different things. I mean, it almost looked like a porn movie almost. Just the production value and the music they had. They had purple smoke. They had just graphics in the background. It was really weird. I've kind of said this before that I'm not the biggest Velveteen Dream fan. I kind of get his appeal, but I don't think he's going to be the next big thing like everybody else thinks he is. But hopefully he makes it. I definitely think he's going to be over on the main roster as long as Vince doesn't screw him up and gives him this overly gay or something gimmick that's just going to dilute him. Because sometimes when you get to the main roster, Vince will just find one aspect of your character and just make it over the top. Like if Kyrie, I think it's already kind of happened in NXT, but if Kyrie Sane does end up making it to the main roster, they're just going to go way overboard with the pirate gimmick, and it's just going to water it down so much. So we have the main event, the triple threat match to determine who is the number one contender for Shayna Baszler's NXT Women's Championship. Baszler was in the not at ringside, but up on the stage with the commentators to do commentary, kind of leaning back with her feet on the desk, kind of looking like a dick. But we have Nikki Cross going up against Candice LeRae and Kairi Sane in this triple threat match. They had a nice little match here. What was the end up? 10 minutes. It's only a 10-minute match, but definitely, everyone kind of getting their spots in, going all over the place. Just a really great match. The crowd, I think, definitely their favorite was Nikki Cross. Candice LeRae not getting that much of a reaction. I think it's just she hasn't really had that much of a time to grow her character. She's just kind of Johnny Gargano's wife, and that's about it. Kairi Sane was over, so probably went Nikki, Kairi, then Candice, unfortunately. I think Candice probably will get that match at LA. for the championship, just because she is from LA, and I think having that match, especially if they do some great storylines with them, I think it could be a really hot match going forward. But Kyrie ended up getting the victory. Candice hit a springboard, a moonsault off the middle rope on a Nikki cross, and Candice was trying to get Cross to tap out, and then all this other shenanigans happen, and Kyrie flies off the top rope, hits Candice from the back, and pins her for the 1-2-3. So Candice takes the pinfall here for Kyrie to become the new number one contenders. Really good match. I thought it kind of started off a little bit slow with the crowd they were hot for Nikki, but they weren't super into the match right away, but I felt like they picked up a lot later. I thought sometimes triple threat matches can get a little awkward with all the different spots they try to work in. But I think the match worked out well, and these three are probably the best three women's wrestlers in NXT at this point, so putting them all together definitely was a good choice. I don't know how much better the match would have been if Belair was in it. I think they might have had a little more pairing off. But triple threats sometimes don't work, but I think this one did. It was a short match, but it worked. The show itself, it was alright. Only a couple matches, I think. There was only 3 matches in total on the show. But it was kind of a long one. It was damn near an hour, and they only had 3 matches. And one of them was a really quick squash match. So, it was alright. I think this probably was the last episode that they taped, so maybe the crowd kind of being dead might have hindered it a little bit. I really like the video package they did with the War Raiders. The video package they did with Velveteen Dream, I didn't like it as much, but they're building towards the Brooklyn show in a month. And I think this next set of tapings, or this next taping with this next set of episodes, should be really good, especially with next week being the big Almas versus Aleister Black NXT Championship match. It'll be fun to see what they do with that. And they didn't really do anything. They didn't do anything except for like a little video package. They didn't have Ciampa didn't make an appearance. They didn't have Black or Gargano do anything. So it'll be fun to see what they do with this match next week. So I know you've all been waiting for this. Back to the Total Bellas recap. We have the first of 2 episodes containing the bachelorette party in Paris. So Nikki Bella meets up with her friends as well as her sister Brie and her mother and JJ the brother and all that other good fun stuff. They go to some fancy, I don't know what you call it. I'm not French, so it's some historical building or Napoleon or something lived, and it was really expensive, and Mick Jagger stayed there and all these other famous people. And Nikki Bella was being an all uptight, and she didn't want to do the normal bachelorette stuff by wearing penis hats and penis lollipops and all other stuff, and Brie was trying to spice it up, and they ended up trying to get a masquerade ball type thing, trying to spice things up, and unfortunately there was some sort of lost in translation thing, so the party, I guess a party planner or the person in charge of setting up, and the wardrobe person, I guess you would say, brought over all these lingerie and titty tassels, as Nikki's friend called it. And so yeah, this episode it was alright. There was no Daniel Bryan, no John Cena, which has been the case for most of these episodes. Not a lot of John Cena sightings, especially with the breakup, but no Daniel Bryan, which is always a shame because I love watching Daniel Bryan and his awkward awesomeness. One of the highlights of it was, I think it was Nikki called the Eiffel Tower statue, I think. But yeah, Total Bellas, I think next week is the last week, or the last episode. But we have the Ms. and Mrs. episode, the premiere episode, coming up next week on Tuesday after SmackDown. So not only will we get a Total Bellas recap, but we will also get a Ms. and Mrs. recap, because I know you guys have all been waiting for that. So this has kind of been a long episode. Once again, back-to-back weeks with long episodes. Clocking in at this one at 54 minutes. So, thank you guys all for watching. I know this probably was my best one. Still a little sleep-deprived after all the days on the road and in San Diego. But thank you guys very much. Goodbye and good night. Back.